Hi, everybody, and welcome to Supporting Service Dogs. My name is Charlie, and I'm sitting here with my best friend in the world, Barbie. Barbie is my multi-purpose service dog in training, and we're going to talk a lot about her today. But to set up the story a little bit, I have to come clean a little bit. So this was not intended to be the first episode. And the reason I'm telling you that, I think will be relevant to the story at hand. I recently started this podcast project after I was discharged from the hospital. I was really, really sick. I was really, really dehydrated. And I spent about a week there. I'm still not feeling 100%. So sometimes I feel like I bite off more than I can chew. And I want to give the best product and the best podcast I can. And I picked a topic that was super research heavy, and I'm still working on it. But it's a topic that I don't want to do half. I want to do it all the way, and I want to do it justice. So I thought that this was a lighter topic and relevant to why I think I'm having such a hard time focusing on things like that. I know people talk about how bad it sucks and how hard it is to be in the hospital, but I just don't see a lot of people talking about the after or what it's like after. And I'll talk a little bit about both, specifically and how it relates to owning my service animal and the struggles and what we've been going through since. But I also just want to reflect on the experience a little bit. It completely disrupts my entire way of living, my night and day cycles. I don't spend a lot of time with people like that. It was a lot, and it took days to even feel comfortable, like going to sleep almost in the silence, because again, I really wasn't feeling very well still, and I'm still not feeling very well. And so you leave a place that's stressful but is supposed to help keep you safe and keep you healthy, and now you're kind of on your own, and that's also its own can of worms. So you're used to this absolute chaos, and then you have to adapt when you come home, and maybe you're not feeling 100%, maybe you're not better. And so it's really hard to not let that just simmer a little bit and to think about what that means for you. So for me, something like that, I am just not going to immediately bounce back and feel 100% like myself. It's going to take a little bit. And like I said, I think I bite off more than I can chew, and I like to get lost in my projects, and I like to get lost in training my dog. But it's hard to do that right now. And there's still a lot I don't know about what's going on with me. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. But we'll kind of get into the topic at hand a little bit more heavily. When I was first admitted in the hospital, one of the things I worried about the most was the connection I had with my dog and how she's going to listen to somebody else in the meantime, or if I'm going to get to see her while I'm in the hospital. And I did have her in the hospital. I had her in the emergency room, and then I had her in my room with me. And so that looked different than what it usually does, though. So she spent some time with me in the emergency room, basically until my family just had to go because it was so late at night and I knew I was being kept. So I said my goodbyes to my dog. The rules and how it works at this hospital, I'm sure it's how it works at most hospitals, because I don't think it would be right to do either way. But their rule is you can have your service animals there. Obviously, it's law. You can't be told that you can't. We'll get into that a little bit more. But you need to have an alternate handler because I was not physically able to do some things for her, like take her to the bathroom. So I had her there with me when my husband would visit, and then he was just co-handling her. So Barbie still got to work, she still got to see me, but the difference is I'm not the number one person in charge. I'm not the person who she's going to go see to go to the bathroom or anything like that. And that totally makes sense for me. So with the hospital, you can bring your dogs to the hospital as long as it's not a sterile environment or something that would be dangerous. But yeah, they have legal right away to go to hospitals, and you cannot be denied based on the doctor saying or it being that they could provide the service. So if your dog does like retrieval or like blood sugar analysis or checking, whatever you'd like to call it, then the nurses can't deny you because they can provide that service. You are allowed to have your dog. Your dog has legal right. And I think it's a good thing to continue that relationship, especially if you're going to be there a while. I think if I went an entire week without seeing her, the story I would tell to follow would be a lot different. And the hospital wasn't perfect. You know, she did get to go, but we had a couple of security guards too that just didn't get it. And I can tell you a little bit of a story about that. So, my spouse was bringing the dog one day, and they have visitor badges. And so, I at first thought he was saying this like a joke, but he said that the guard was really serious about it. That he's like, okay, where's your badge and where's the dog's badge? Or where's the dog's papers? And it was just like asking questions like that. And my husband told him that service dogs don't have those things. Like, we're not required to have those here in the United States. And he let him go, and that was that. And I really didn't think anything else of it. But the next day, he came to bring her to me, and this is the day I left, I believe. And they were questioning him in ways that they're not really allowed to. So they were asking if it was his dog, if they've had clearance to be in the hospital, just things that aren't, or like if we talk to a nurse, which she's been in the room all week. They've definitely seen her. We're all aware, and it's all been absolutely fine. But this guy was just kind of giving him a hard time, like, oh, why or for who or what's the room number. And so all this accumulates later to I have a disability coordinator in my room. And I missed, honestly, when he introduced himself. I thought he was just saying he was management. So I accidentally said it to the perfect guy. But he's asking just how everything is. And I said that everything's good, but that I think the guards downstairs need training because they're asking questions that aren't right. And they're asking for papers and they're asking for badges and things like that. And that's just not how any of this works. The guy's eyes got really big, and you can tell that he doesn't get to explain this kind of stuff very often. So he was excited to be able to tell me that that's not how they've been trained in this hospital and that they're going to talk to them, which was great. And he went and explained the other things that they've been doing for service animals at their hospital. So they've recently added like a new place for them to go to the bathroom. And he was wanting to make sure I knew where that was at. So it ended up being fine and good. And I got to talk to apparently the perfect person. And he definitely talked to them too, because when I was released, there was two guards just absolutely looking at me with just disdain and anger or something, just upset. And I had my service dog with me, so they had to know who I was and that I said something. So I'm pretty sure that they said something, because the way they were looking at me was that they were mad or upset. And I'm sorry, but what I say is hopefully they know better next time and they won't do this to another person. And that's just what I have to think about. As soon as I got home, I really wanted to test and make sure that Barbie, I don't know, knew who I was or could listen to me the same. And I think generally the answer to that was a resounding yes. She definitely loves and respects me and missed, the heck out of me. She didn't forget me. I don't know. That's what I was also thinking. But another thing I was worried about is if she would listen to me as good. My husband doesn't have as much handling with her. And so she, I think, does get away with a lot more with him. Like, she's able to pull a lot more, and he lets her smell things outside and stuff that I wouldn't let her. And so when she comes back to me, she's kind of more used to that. And so that's what we've been working on. I've been just kind of tightening back up that focus, tightening back up those leash skills. And that's where we've been working on more these last couple of weeks, partially because I don't feel well, partially because I feel like that could use some work. And that brings me to that, especially if you're married or you think you could find yourself in a situation where you could need a co-handler for the hospital, what I'd really recommend is working with them more, or having the human work with your service animal more, so that there's already an established communication pattern. They understand each other, and you see them work together. I'm not saying my spouse like did anything wrong or that I'm like upset at anything, but I think that we could have definitely done that more, and things would have just been easier on everyone. And so that's just something I recommend too, is working with somebody that you trust to handle your dog in an emergency, because I had no idea that that was going to come up, and especially not so soon in my service dog handling career. But now I know better, and now I know what to tell you guys about, and now I know what to work on for us too. So not only working on our communication and our focus, but maybe with somebody else as well, so that they can assist. It doesn't need to be your main focus, but it definitely would help in a situation like this. And this is just how we're doing. Maybe you're doing better, maybe you're even doing worse. I don't think there's anything wrong in taking it slow after something like that happens, or asking for help. And so that's the advice I recommend. But to wrap it up with a couple of key points, you are allowed to have your service animal in the hospital. Just make sure that you're following up with a co-handler, so you can make sure that you're doing it safe for you and your dog, and working with the hospital. And that it's absolutely okay to slow down a little bit after going through something like going to the hospital, especially the hospital, or especially things that go on with your health. Your health is everything, and it's okay to be gentle on yourself, and it's okay to go slow on projects that you'd like to do, and to do things that make you happy during these times, and just take time for you, and just take time to assess how you feel. So with that, I will be wrapping up my first episode of Supporting Service Dogs. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will have a new episode out ASAP. Originally, I was like, I'm going to have one out every week, but things are crazy. I'm going to be putting them out when I think I have something important to talk about, or something that means something. I want to work hard, and I want to make sure that what I'm making continues to get better as I go. And I'm still working on that topic. So hopefully we'll see that episode in the future. All right. I will talk to you guys later. All right. See you guys. See you guys next time. Bye.